Okay, so
Okay,
right,
we're
thank
ready.
you, professors. We shall start, and I will go to the next one. We shall start with one.
Okay, hi. Hello, everyone. A warm welcome. I know we have people joining from different parts of the world today. So thank you for making the time, and appreciate that it might be very early or very late for some of you, and you've actually taken the effort to join it regardless. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I am Wanyat Singh, the Regional Manager for East Asia from Emerald Publishing. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our webinar today, where we have 4 excellent speakers who are the editors, Prof. Rose, Prof. Mohammad, Prof. Faridah, and also Dr. Rahma, all representing their journal respectively. The purpose of today's Meet the Editors session is basically what the title says, for everyone to have the opportunity to get to know the editors of the journals better, providing insights and their personal journey of all the stories behind each of the journals, and also maybe to clear the air on any questions or any misconception people have around them. With this, we are sure it will help to lead to a common better understanding from all parties, be it you are the researcher submitting your research output into one of the journals, or at the other receiving end where you are the actual users using the content. We have actually limited the interaction ability during this webinar session because we wanted to ensure a smooth flow of presentation. But you will have the chance to do that during the question and answer session after. So do post any questions that you have along the way in the questions or the chat section, and we will try to address as many as possible today, failing which we will definitely be getting back to you directly after the webinar. So without much further ado, I will hand over for the detailed introduction of all the speakers to Madam Rosita. So enjoy and have a pleasant rest of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Juan, for the welcome note. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rosita G, the Regional Marketing Manager for Emerald Publishing East Asia under One's team. I'm pleased to introduce you all to our respected speakers for today. So we have got all speakers on their webcam while I introduce you all to them. Today we have 4 speakers that represents 3 journals. With us are Emeritus Professor Roszaini Haniffa and Professor Mohammad Hudaib. Both are editors of Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. Then we have Professor Faridah Haji Hassan, Associate Editor of Journal of Islamic Marketing. And we have Dr. Rahmatina Kasri, Associate Editor of International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to our speakers now. Emeritus Professor Roszaini Haniffa. Prof. Rose has a Bachelor of Science in Finance and Economics from Northern Illinois University, US, Master Science in Accounting and Finance from University of Stirling in Scotland, and PhD in Accounting and Finance from University of Exeter in England. She is a Fellow of the UK Higher Education Academy. Prof. Rose has taught and held leadership roles in University of Exeter, Bradford University School of Management, Hull Business School, and Edinburgh Business School, a career that spanned over a period of 24 years in the UK. She has also held teaching stints in Hong Kong, Oman, and Bahrain. Her last post was as Head of Accounting, and she was awarded the title of Emeritus Professor of Accountancy by Heriot Ward University in Scotland in recognition of her service. She has previously taught in Malaysia for about 9 years before her move to the UK. Prof. Rose was included in the UK Muslim Woman Power List 2009 by the UK Equality and Human Rights Commission for her leadership and contribution to the UK society. She has published extensively in various areas, including business ethics, financial reporting, and corporate governance. She has about 13,000 citations and over 80,000 readerships for her published work. She is the founder and joint editor of Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research and reviewer for many top-tier journals. She is frequently invited as keynote speaker and plenary speaker at various conferences and events. From her research activities, publications, and editorship of the specialist journal, Prof. Rose has developed a wide range of networks and collaborations with key institutions and individuals involved in Islamic banking and finance in different countries. Next is Professor Mohammad Hudaib. After completing his Bachelor of Accounting, Prof. Mohammad started his professional career in auditing and completed a number of continuing professional development courses in Saudi Arabia and data and economic analysis at Syracuse University, US. He then pursued his studies in the UK and was awarded Master Science in Accounting and Finance by University of Stirling and PhD in Accounting and Financial Management by University of Essex. He is a Fellow of the UK Higher Education Academy and Association of International Accountants. Prof. Mohammad started his teaching career at University of Exeter and later held teaching posts at Bradford University School of Management, University of Essex, Nottingham Business School, Adam Smith Business School, and the last post was at University Malaysia Pahang. Prof. Mohammad has extensive publication in top-tier journals in the area of auditing, Islamic accounting and finance, corporate governance, and business ethics. He has about 7,000 citations and a H index of 39 for his published work. Together with Prof. Rose, he co-founded Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, and they have a book on Islamic accounting and finance published by Cengage. He is currently invited as plenary speaker at various conferences and events. Next is Professor Dr. Faridah Haji Hassan. Professor Dr. Faridah from the Department of Ranking, UITM Global, University Technology Mara, Malaysia, is currently the Vice President of World Academy of Islamic Management. She is the founder of Halal Management and Science Halalmas, Director of Institute of Business Excellence, and former Dean, Faculty of Business and Management at the university. Prof. Faridah's work are on international research consultancy, training, and publication. She is the Chief and Associate Editor for 2 Scopus journals, plus an editorial board member for several other journals. She has been invited to speak in numerous international conferences on halal, marketing, and strategic business management. And we have Dr. Rahmatina Kasri. Dr. Rahmatina is the head of the Center of Sharia Economics and Business, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia. She is one of the associate editor of the International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management, and a reviewer of several other international and national journals. Her main research interests include Islamic economics, banking, and finance. Her works have been published in several books, various national international conferences, and several leading journals. In addition to the academic activities, she actively involves in various professional organizations. She currently serves as a chairwoman of the Jakarta chapter of the Indonesian Islamic Economics Expert Association, member of Expert Board of Indonesian Islamic Economic Society, member of International Association of Islamic Economists based in the UK, and member of the Society for the Advancement of Socio-Economics based in Germany. Dr. Rahmatina received a PhD in Islamic Economics and Finance from Durham University, UK, an MBA in Islamic Banking and Finance from the International Islamic University of Malaysia, Masters in International and Development Economics from Australian National University, and a Bachelor of Economics from the Faculty of Economics, Universitas Indonesia. Now, for the first part, for 5 minutes each, our editors and associate editors will share some information on call for papers and awareness about the journal. I shall pass the session now to Prof. Mohammad. The floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to everyone, and good morning to some of you are in the morning session. I will have 5 minutes to introduce the Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, and more questions later when if you have any questions related to what I'm going to introduce. Basically, accounting, or the journal, it covers many issues, unlike others specialized journals. So we cover accounting, auditing, leadership, strategic management, and so on and so forth. But with the accounting issues, for example, we are trying to focus or take papers on either the rethinking what is the current status quo of Islamic and conventional accounting. For example, the Anglo-Saxon model and accounting standards, IFRS, is it suitable or is not? Still, there is a room for critical and debate. And currently also the AWAFI accounting standards. So if there's anything related to the journal is welcoming these papers. Another issue about the size of organization. For example, now in the Islamic point of view, maybe there is a specific size. Not all the mega or big companies that really within this can provide effective and efficient performance. So from the Islamic point of view, we'd like to know how these organizations, in terms of size, reach the optimal or the optimal level of performance, depend on the size, and why the sizes matter for the Islamic point of view. Within the organizations, also there is a papers on internal control, and you can see in the conventional literature they talk about the issue of trust and internal control. So that either the material control on suspicious, you consider activities as to be highly suspicious and fraud and risk, or you trust the human being, and then that means you reduce internal control. So the Islamic perspective in that matter is very important. We don't know much about it. So we want to consider or see papers on that area. Organizational resilience and this on the times of crisis. Today we have COVID, and before that maybe you have now, or maybe after COVID we have the weak supplies or supplies, certain things, technology and food and others. So there's a lot of papers or research we're really expecting to see on that in the area. All what JBAR is all about, we are trying to avoid replication of previous or conventional studies, that you take some kind of papers and you add, or you take some Islamic data and you reproduce them. This is not really we are welcoming. As for the auditing, particularly the SSB or Sharia Scholars Sharia Supervisory Board, in terms of informativeness and in terms of their role as a fund managers, because now it becomes SSB in Islamic model very important in terms of the survival of the organization and the trust and perhaps the share price. So there's some issues really we are looking for to cover or to see some papers on that. With regard to management accounting and strategic management accounting, the issue of CEO, genders, and sustainability and leadership. Now we have the governance, the corporate governance is now the corporate governance is relevant for Islamic organizations, or now we move to what's called now, it's in Malaysia's developed now, the human governance. But with that human governance model, still now it's based on the Kant perspective. So now is the Kantian relevant for Islamic organizations, or we move to something else like the Islamic view on the corporate governance? So that's really an interesting area to cover. The issue of stewardship, which is the code of corporate governance is based on, is it really relevant, or should we move into stakeholders issue or stakeholders point of view from the Islamic point of view? Logistic and hospitality, again, we have some expert in halal product and Islamic also. The journal takes some papers on the halal in terms of logo, in terms of supplies and products, and so on and so forth. Social and environmental sustainability projects are also welcomed by the journal. There are a lot of issues I need to cover, but because I have 5 minutes, perhaps if you have any questions later on, and that's perhaps I can, I stop here, and then if you have any questions, please, you can ask later on. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Prof. Mohammad. Yes, whoever got any questions, obviously post it on the questions tab, and then we will pick it up when we have the question and answer later on. So now I invite Prof. Faridah to share about her journal. 5 minutes, Prof. Faridah, over to you.
Right, thank you. Good afternoon from Malaysia. If possible, I would like to share my slide, Madam Rosita. I hope I can remember how to do it. Okay, can you guide me one more time? Show my screen. Okay, great. Yeah, no,
yes, correct. Yes.
yes. Okay, can you see? Hold on. So what
yes,
do I do next?
We are
You
looking
can
at your PowerPoint.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we're looking at PowerPoint right now. You can just start the slideshow. That would do.
Okay, great. Now you can
right.
see.
Yes, correct. Yes, we can see the slideshow right now.
Okay, great. Right. I'm not going to go in very detail on what this is all about. But actually, right now, I would say I would just like to, for 5 minutes, I would just like to share what this journal is focusing on. Okay, so as you can see, this is the journal that if it is on hard copy, if you revisit the this particular link, the Emerald Group Publishing, you'll see this kind of cover. So that is the Journal of Islamic Marketing, formerly in the acronym is JIMA. Okay, and it has been in the market for quite some time, I would say, way back in 2010, and it was the first journal dedicated to investigating marketing's relationship with Islam in theory and practice across the Muslim majority, as well as the minority geographies. Yeah. And JIMA actually associated with some behavioral studies also, especially in marketing, such as Muslim consumption patterns, doing business in Muslim markets and targeting Muslim consumers. That was the initial part when it was launched in 2010. The reason it becomes so important, I would say, is because of the total population of Muslim in the world right now, which is about I would say 2 billion, and that is the third 1 billion around in the universe. After if you compare the Chinese billion and the Indian billion, so we are the third billions. And the interesting part right now, as most of you who are very they are avid writers and authors, you can see that the followers are mostly the younger age, and this is the next generation of the Muslim market that would be referring and writing to this journal. I'd like to introduce the chief editor over here. This is Professor Jonathan Wilson. Sometimes I call him Prof. Bilal. He's from various universities previously and now attached to the Greenwich University. Later on, I will highlight on the various aims and scope of the journals, the editorial team, the author's guideline, and the literary awards. Now, but just to share a little bit like what Prof. Hudaib and also Prof. Roszaini has developed in their journal. What we were looking of late would be on the sub-disciplines, okay, and cross-discipline work, because we could see a lot of halal matters coming in Islamic finance and all the industries from food, from fashion, logistic. We have latest halal media and recreation, traveling, and many others that may be considered by many parties. And also there are also some areas on interfaith discussion, between the Muslim and versus other, for example, people of the book, how they discuss on the comparative studies. So although a lot of them are from marketing audience, but interestingly we see that it has been developed into many other sub areas. Now what I wanted to share is the development from previous time when I first met Prof. Jonathan. It was way back more than 5 years ago, definitely. There were just a few of us in the group, and I was the associate editor then. But look at it right now. Okay, you can see that there are more associate editors over here because the number of papers that are coming in, I tell you, is really voluminous. And Madam Rosita was asking me, can you share the call for papers? To be honest, we don't have the call for papers because we have ample, overwhelmed number of papers submitted by authors. Until at one time, Prof. Jonathan told me, we can wait for 2 years and just do the reviewing, without worry. So, all right, the latest that I wanted this is my last slide, yeah. The latest things that I would like you all to consider in writing would be in various other areas like, apart from theory, practice, and research methods, you can look into the Islamic financial products and services, which is really very high demand in that. That also, I can testify on that because I myself do a lot on halal matters, but my papers in Islamic finance are the one, financial services are the one that has a very high impact followers. And other than that, these are the things that I mentioned to you just now on food, pharmaceutical, blah, blah, supply chain, art, fashion, entertainment. Do share with us what's latest, okay? Sports marketing, hospitality, spiritual, health, tourism, and many others, like including, that I mentioned to you, interfaith ethnocentrism, as well. If you would like to share multiculturalism and cross-culture, as well as Islamic codes and conducts and ethics, you are most welcome to do so. So I think I better stop here for a while. Thank you, and I will take up the questions later on. Thank you.
Yes, right on time. Thanks a lot, Prof. Faridah. I now invite Dr. Rahma for her sharing, and William will pass over the control to Dr. Rahma.
Thank you, Madam Rosita.
Yes, I have sent the request to you, Dr. Rahma.
Show my screen, yeah? So, okay.
Yes, we can see, well, I can see your PowerPoint right now, yes.
Oh, you can see it already, okay. I cannot see. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we can see it's actually inside show right now. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Madam Rosita, and also team from Emerald Publishing. I'm very delightful to be with all of you today in this sharing session organized by Emerald Publishing. And I'm also very happy and fortunate to meet my mentors, Professor Ros, Prof. Hudaib, and also Professor Faridah. And I would like to share a little bit about International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management. Just the introduction, because more will be shared later on. Okay. So the International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management is also known as IMFM, was established in 2008. It publishes quality and in-depth analysis on current issues within Islamic and Middle Eastern finance and management. And IMFM usually publishes 4 to 5 times annually. And this is the aim and scope of the journal. The journal welcomes strong evidence-based empirical studies and result-focused case studies that share research in Islamic finance and clarify best practices. It also aims to give an interdisciplinary and holistic view on Islamic finance and business management practices in order to inform these two intertwined communities. Now, these are some of the topics covered by the journal. The full detail you can see from the journal's website. Now, I would like to share one of the call for paper in 2021. It's about Islamic finance in South Asia. So in IMFM, usually, but not always, every year, there is a call for paper Unlike Journal of Islamic Marketing and International Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, IMFM does not publish very frequently, only 4 to 5 times, but 5 times include the call for paper. So this year, the special issue invites empirical papers, theoretical and case studies dealing with the issues listed here in the context of South Asia. The key areas of focus include the current issues and challenges in the progression of Islamic finance and possible solutions, the role of fintech in Islamic finance, the impact of regulatory, institutional, governmental, and political factors, innovative Sharia-compliant products and services, financial contagion in Islamic banks, carbon financing and the role of Islamic financing in environmental and social development, and the role of Sharia in risk management and asset pricing. So this is the call for paper 2021. And for more information, please visit our page in emeraldpublishing.com. I think that's all from me for the call for paper and the introduction. I give it back to Madam Rosita, yeah? Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rahma, for the sharing. Now we go into the main part of the webinar, whereby all the professors will spend about 20 minutes. We'll detail all the relevant information which will be beneficial to all the participants. So obviously along the way, if you have any questions to the speakers, please post them in the questions tab. So now for the first part, I invite Prof. Rose to share about her journal. Over to you, Prof. Rose.
Thank you very much. So, show my screen.
William will give you control.
Yes, you should have seen the right. Okay,
Yes,
you have experience already.
Can you see?
Yes, we can see that.
Yes, we can see your screen, Prof.
We can see your whole desktop.
I cannot see my screen. Okay. All right, so can you see my slide now?
Yes, we can see your PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yes, we can see your slideshow right now. Yes, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right, thank you. Assalamualaikum everyone, and a very good afternoon and morning to everyone. So basically, I will be going over the Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. So this is the cover of the journal. It started in 2009. That was when both Mohammad and I was like, we started writing, becoming interested in Islamic accounting. And to be honest, actually, we just realized that Emerald has connection with one of the universities that I work, which is Bradford School of Management. So those people who work at the Bradford School of Management, actually, they are the one who started the Emerald Publishing. So I was fortunate to be there, and also to visit the Emerald office in Bradford at that time, because I was teaching in the Bradford School of Management. So we founded in 2009, and our first issue was in April 2010. In terms of ranking, we are in Scopus, and we are also listed in the ABS list. The ABS list is the ranking that is used by UK universities, where for every assessment, every 5 years, they have a research assessment for all the researchers. So they will be looking at, if the publications are in the ABS list. And also we have the Australian ABDC Journal Quality List. So these are the three main rankings that is being used to assess the quality of the journal. So what is our aim? Our aim is basically to advance accounting. So when we talk about accounting, it's not just the accounting, but also in terms of tax or zakah and management accounting, because management accounting in different organizations, including Islamic organizations, might be slightly different. and also to look at issues in terms of financial reporting because of the different financial accounting standards, and how you assess the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses are all different. So that becomes quite an important issue to look at. So that is in the part of accounting. So we don't want to just focus on accounting, but also to look at the business side as well. Because when we talk about business, it includes the marketing, it includes the management, operations, and so on. So we are a bit, we are wider. We just not only focusing on accounting, but also on other areas of business. And anything that will, have an impact on the society. So in the past, we started off in 2010 with only 2 issues, and at that time when we started, it was only like 4 papers. So 1 year we have only published 8 papers, and at that time that includes the editorial, it includes research notes. But it has really grown over the years, and then I think it increased to 4 issues, and now we have 8 issues. And 8 issues, and we have increased from 2 papers, 8 papers a year to now we have 64 papers. We publish about 64 papers. So in the past we have published work on Islamic accounting, economics, marketing, governance, leadership, and so on. So we are not only looking at empirical papers, we also accept theoretical papers or conceptual paper. But obviously, when you talk about a conceptual paper, it must be really very rigorous, all right? So it's not just like just an idea. If it is just an idea, maybe it will be more appropriate as a research note rather than a full paper. And we are also interested in practice, because sometimes in the workplace, you might come across a certain issue, as a lawyer or accountant, you might come across a certain, or even in management, you might come across certain issues that has a practical problem that you want to try to resolve. We also welcome those type of papers as well. So in the past, as I mentioned, we are quite flexible in terms of publishing different types or different areas, okay? Especially when we talk about accounting, it's about 2 issues. It's about disclosure and about measurement, all right? So when we talk about accounting, it's always about these 2, about transparency, what information to disclose, and so on. And the other one is about performance, okay? How to measure performance, how to measure assets, liabilities from an Islamic perspective. We are also looking for management. I think at the moment there's not much being written on leadership. All right, leadership is very important. For example, I think I'm very interested in the papers on gender, especially about female leaders. All right, female businesswomen. As we know that the Prophet's wife, Khadija, is one of the best, well-known Muslim businesswomen. So we would like to see more papers that address this issue, right? So about CEO, Muslim woman CEO, the management, or they own a particular business. We would like to get more papers like that, all right? It could be a case studies as well, comparing different organizations and so on. Because at the moment we receive quite a lot of papers on banking, but we would like to move on to also certain areas are not really tackled about strategic management, because how in Islamic organizations, how do they come up with the vision, the mission, and so on. I think that needs some attention as well. So when we talk about research impact, so we try to publish work that have research impact. So when we talk about research impact, it's about research that will benefit others, all right? In terms of knowledge, we like to have some papers that will create new knowledge, or papers that also tackle about the curriculum, because we tend to forget about the curriculum. If you are teaching Islamic accounting or you're teaching Islamic banking and finance, what are the syllabus, what should we be teaching, and so on. So that is also an important part, because it will change the curriculum. And also in terms of practice, so for the public and private sectors, all right, because the focus so much now is on the private sectors. What about the public sector? So in terms of practice in the public sector needs also more attention. And the other one is in terms of public policy. So we want to see papers that addresses issues that will have a public policy implications. Economy obviously is about how to create wealth and innovation. And also all these issues related to society and the environment. So the issues on society and environment is quite a lot, all right? So it involves not only Muslims, but also non-Muslims as well. So for example, in terms of environment, everybody is concerned about the environment. So what is the Islamic solution to environment, tackling issues with environment, or tackling issues related to society? Okay. So when we talk about the concept of Islam for the purpose of our journal, so we are looking at the Islamic concepts. We want people to take concepts from the Quran and try to elaborate on this and how we can apply in our everyday life, right? So we are looking at those type of papers related to Islamic concepts, principles, or accounting standards, or from accounting it will be the Islamic accounting standards. But also we are looking for issues of how to address Muslims in non-Islamic setting. All right, so it can be at country level or it can be at organizational level, because Muslims as a minority will have different issues than Muslims in a Muslim-dominated country. So we also would like to hear, to receive papers from issues that address minority Muslims, how they resolve issues that they have. For example, in terms of insurance or takaful, right? Need for takaful in a non-Islamic setting or in non-Islamic organization or non-Islamic country, and also issues that in countries that are not dominated by Muslims, like in Malaysia, Pakistan, and so on. And also generally about anything that is across faith, spiritual, about human-based teachings and logics, all right, that are, and how Islamic teachings resolve some of the issues that we face these days. So in terms of editorial team, so Mohammad and I are the joint editors, and because the journal has grown over the years, we now have 17 associate editors. All right, so we have really grown because we cannot manage, because at the moment when we first started, we even do the help to do the editing, but we just cannot do anymore, so we cannot handle. So we have appointed 17 associate editors, and these associate editors will have a say, or they are the one who will make the recommendation to accept or reject the paper, right? So they have full authority. They will be the one who will be selecting the reviewers. So these are the associate editors. And we also have associate editors, not necessarily they are Muslims, they are also non-Muslims who are associate editors as well. And because the final decision is actually, we will be looking at it, okay? So associate editors will make the decision, but we will also check whether, whether it's appropriate or not. Then we also have an editorial advisory board, all right, who also helps with the review, but they don't really have much control of decision, right? There's 27 members, and our publisher, I think for all three will be the same for all three journals. Our commissioning editor is Melissa Close, and when for any queries that you have before the paper is being accepted, then it will be Suraj. And after the paper has been accepted, when the job of the editors will stop when we accept the paper, all right? So after we accept the paper, it will go to the publisher, and they are the ones who will decide on which issue it will go, all right? So your papers will be published in which issue. It has nothing to do with the editors. It is up to the publisher who's in charge for publication. So this is just to give you an idea of the number of downloads, all right? So this is for the last 5 years. We can see that there is a certain kind of pattern, we can see that between February and June, most of the February to May, most of the papers are being downloaded between this time. So between February to May, and again between September to November. All right, you can see the kind of peak during those period of download, and I think it has to do with the semester. And normally there will be very not much downloads between June to August. I think it's a holiday season, so you know, the number of downloads are less. And also we can see the impact of COVID, a bit of COVID, where you know the number of downloads has gone down a bit, starting in 2019. Because so a big dip, you know, from 66,000, it goes down to about 44,000 downloads. And then it picked up again in 2020. It goes up to 51,000 downloads. In terms of submissions, we have received about 1,552, and these where are they coming? So most of the authors are from Malaysia. I think because Malaysia is a bit advanced in terms of issues on Islamic. So the two biggest ones are Malaysia and Indonesia, followed by Pakistan. But also we are seeing much more papers from different areas as well. So because there are not that many, so we put it under other countries. All right, so it's quite a big range. And as I mentioned earlier on, our associate editors, one is a Japanese and the other one is an Italian. All right, so we have a quite you know, a diverse group of people. Right, so there are also the authors are not necessarily all Muslims, they are also non-Muslims as well. So the reviewing process, all right. I'm not quite sure about the other two journals, but for JBA, we have 3 types of review, all right. So if you are submitting the paper, you can decide on which one you want to follow. Okay, so one is the peer review. So you will be asked whether you want it to be a crowd review. Then you will say that if you want it to be just blind review, that means you need only 2 blind reviewers. Then you click, no, I'm not interested in crowd review. So the other choice is a crowd review, where you can, if you want it to be a crowd review as well as a peer review. So meaning that your paper will be going out to 2 blind reviewers and also to the crowd review. Okay, so when we talk about crowd review, there is a list of 50. All right, so when we send out the paper to these 50 reviewers, so you will get the feedback and then we will make the decision. Right, normally when with the crowd review, it will be quicker, you know, because compared to the peer review. Because if we have a substantial number who already responded, then we can make the decision. And the other one, the third choice is only crowd review. You don't want to have any peer review, but crowd. Okay. So these are the 3 choices that you have. So one is a peer review, second is both crowd as well as peer, and the third one is just crowd review without the peer review. So I take this opportunity as well because we need more reviewers. So if you are interested to be a peer reviewer or a crowd reviewer, please do contact us. All right, we'd like to have more reviewers for our journal and also as a crowd reviewer. Because there are benefits of being a reviewer as well, because you will be, you know, as a reviewer, you will be getting also access to some of the articles in the journals, previous articles in the journals. So this is just to give you a timeline, all right? So normally when we receive the papers, the editors will look at it, then we decide whether it will be going to the, you know, whether this is it will survive a review or not. So we will set, if we think that there is something new, there is something interesting, we will send it to the associate editor, all right? And the associate editor will then contact 2 reviewers, right? So if it is a peer review, then it will be 2 reviewers. If it is a crowd review, then he will send to the crowd reviewer. So this process will take about 2 weeks, right? So between the editors to the associate editors and in appointing the reviewers. And it could also be that a desk rejection. So sometimes when we receive the paper, if you think that there is something that is not right, or we don't see the potential of the paper, we might desk reject. All right. So if you don't get back the paper, that means it has gone through the review process. It has been sent to the associate editor, who has contacted the reviewers. And the reviewers are usually given 6 to 8 weeks to complete their reviews. And once the reviews come back, then we will make the decision. So all this process will take about another 2 weeks. So the expected is between 3 to 3.5 months. Why I'm not trying, it can happen earlier than that, but sometimes, it depends on the reviewers. Sometimes one reviewer has come back, but we are still waiting for the second reviewer. So that becomes, so our decision making takes longer. And sometimes the reviewer also asks for extension because they are too busy, so they ask for extension. So that is the cause for some of the delay. So what are the possible editor decisions? So there are three scenarios. So first is to accept. So this is extremely rare for first submission to get acceptance straight away. All right, so that is very extremely rare. The second one is which is more common, is a revision, right? So the revision can be a minor revision or a major revision. So for a minor revision, it can be as just proofreading, very minor, as just like needing just proofreading, or it can be minor but with a little bit more. When I talk about major, it is really a bit more work, and that's the reason why we are giving the authors 3 months, right? 3 months to work on the paper. And the last one is a rejection. So this is quite common for your first submission. This is quite common, all right? And it is also quite common that even after you have undergone even up to 2 revision, two cycles of revision, it might be rejected as well. So there's no kind of like, if you ask to revise, that your paper will be accepted, all right? So it could be rejected. So rejection can be from a desk reject, the first time it doesn't go to the review process, or it could be rejected after the review process and even after the revision. So what are the reasons for rejection? So normally the reasons for rejection is because of lack of fit with the journal. So this is normally when it doesn't really fit with the journal, it will be a desk reject normally. Another reason for rejection is a problem with quality. So when we talk about quality, it's about using inappropriate methodology, or maybe it is not reasonably rigorous. Okay, the method being used the paper is not really rigorous, or it can be excessive long, because for our journal, the publisher wants it to be about between 5,000 words. Right, so it's very short. Between 5 to 7,000 words. So that is the budget that we have for every paper. So try to keep your papers short. And also the other issue is with the language, right? The quality of the language. Another reason is insufficient contribution. So if it is just simply a replication, if you take a conventional paper and then you just collect the data in an Islamic country, that is not really good enough, all right? Because we want it, you have to at least explain why you're looking at it from an Islamic country, because what is special about this, particularly in the Islamic country, what is the implications, okay? And the other reason is not following instructions. So for example, if you ask to revise and you haven't accommodated all the reviewers' comments, then this will also be a reason for rejection as well. So what if your paper is rejected? This is quite common. Even I have many papers being rejected as well. So the thing is that don't give up. Don't ever give up, okay? So ask yourself why and listen carefully to what the reviewers are saying, okay? The reviewers might have point, even if you think that your paper is great, but there must be something, some flaws in it that people pick up, because sometimes when you start writing, you forget about it, all right? You cannot see. but it takes fresh eyes to see, the paper in a different light. Okay, so don't give up. Because even if the paper is rejected, you gain actually, because you gain valuable feedback from the reviewers. This will help you to improve further on your paper, and you can even send it later on to a better journal. You think, okay, you have put on in more work on it and so on. You can tackle another journal. You can move on to another journal to try your luck with another journal. And also, at least it gives you a good experience of how the publishing cycle works. All right, so you know how to submit the paper through the system. So you familiarize yourself with that. So here is just to give you an idea of how the rejection rate. All right, so this is basically submission. We can have the editor's decision. If it goes through the first review, all right, you will send to the associate editors, or it could be we ask the authors to revise. This is when sometimes the authors, when they send the paper, they put their names on the paper because it has to go through blind review. So they shouldn't mention anything about that shows that who are the authors, right? So sometimes we have to send it back and ask them to revise so that we can go to the associate editors. And sometimes it's a pure desk reject. Okay. And then when it goes to the first, but some, when we send it back to the paper, they withdraw the papers, all right? So these 10% normally will try to, when we ask them to revise again, they withdraw. Then after the first review, the decision can be a revise or reject. So reject, it will not go any further, but revision, then when we receive the second round of review, again, it could be to be accepted or to be revised or rejection. Okay. And again, when we ask for the first round of revise, also we find that people are not taking advantage of that, and they withdraw the paper. So that's why I say don't give up. All right, 16%. All right, I'm finishing soon. All right, so request for revision is actually good news. Okay, right. So request for revision is actually good news. All right, so take your time. We give you 3 months. Take the time to really, use the time to revise the paper, because we've seen authors sending after 2 days or 1 day, send it back and not addressing all the issues raised by the reviewers. So as I said, if you're not sure, just seek clarification from the reviewer, from the editors, and you can disagree with the reviewers. But when you are sending back your paper, make sure that you address it point by point. Okay, so not just to put it highlight in yellow in the paper itself where you make the changes. You need to address point by point where it is, on which page, and so on. Okay. I think that's will cover what I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Prof. Rose, and obviously Prof. Mohammad, both of you, for the compilation of the slides and also the brilliant presentation. So now, Prof. Faridah, the floor is yours to share about Journal of Islamic Marketing. Over to you, Prof. Faridah.
Thank you.
William will provide control to you. Any
Okay.
minute now. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Thank you to, I think, Prof. Roszaini. She in fact has covered a lot, which is very similar to I would say most of the journals that I think all three of us are covering. So I guess I may not go in that detail like what Prof. Roszaini did, but to highlight some of the areas that is of concern that probably has been stated and maybe not. Okay, so I move on to the what do you call that, the one that I mentioned just now. Yeah, let me see, where did I stop? Yep, I think right. Okay, to move on, talking about the guidelines here, how the authors need to submit in this JIMA, or Journal of Marketing, Islamic Marketing. So I guess they need to really understand the background of the area that they're writing. And definitely, I would say it's quite broad, as you have seen what I mentioned to you. Just to recap, so you can see that these are the latest things that are coming in the journal, which is of the current interest. And of late, of course, in the last 2 years or so, many papers are coming in related to the pandemic and COVID cases. So it was very interesting to look into halal food that is considered, to be, they should be made aware that it is so important to, to be concerned on during pandemic, and nothing got to do with haram food. For example, relating to the Wuhan case, with bats and all that, and many other possibilities. Even some are looking to halal vaccine and many others. So there's really a myriads over here for them to consider, to discuss, because this journal is really very open to new topics. And we have, surprisingly, you'll be shocked to hear more than 1,000 over reviewers, because of the volume that we have. As I mentioned to you, this journal do not have call for papers, because the queue is very long, and also the number of authors are increasing, and the number of papers are also increasing accordingly. So we publish sometimes almost 5 to 6 times per year. We were aiming for 4, but our chief editor was very kind. But of course, he expanded our scope and also the number of people involved, not like in the first few years when he introduced it. So we have really a big number of people in the assistant editorial group. Okay, the associate editor would look over the assistant editor's job, and also there are many other editorial boards coming in. So okay, coming back to the journal details, definitely we are looking into research integrity. If you find any plagiarism, we do send out stern warnings to the authors, because it happened, and when there's conflict between the authors. Okay, so I would like you all to go and visit this link in order for you to look into more detail, and they also need to give consent among between the groups. So if possible, to authors, how to safeguard yourself, try to get members in the group, in the authorship, who are harmonious, nothing, so that no one dispute in the way you write or what you have submitted. So you'll be surprised to see what kind of letters we get of late. And of late, I am have to be frank with those listeners. I get very annoyed also, because I'm chairing. I'm a chief editor in another Scopus journal, and an associate editor for this one. And surprisingly, in both journals, authors write in personally, emails as well as WhatsApp us, regarding their publication, which I think is really uncalled for, really unbecoming, because I do remember when I used to start writing way back in the 90s and all that, we don't do that to the authors. Even until now, we do not write into the editors, okay? So my assistant editors get harassed actually, and then they get very annoyed and report to me, and I would discuss with the chief editor, what is this? Why are they getting, because right now I guess through the professional leakage, everybody can get access to your email and your telephone numbers. So that's what they do. So I felt that please, if you want some respect and honest way of doing things, I appreciate that the authors please have that kind of gap with the authors, so that they know, so that the editors know what they're doing. But definitely, I do not deny, if let's say we overlook the system overlook on the lateness of replying to you, you can write in definitely officially. However, I need to share my experience, like what Prof. Roszaini mentioned just now. Some of the papers get accepted very quickly, maybe a month or so, because their papers are really good. And I would also say that their papers are really very minor to do correction. But others may take longer than that, although we have a pledge over here that we will return it within 4 months, like Prof. Roszaini mentioned, about 3.5 months. We had about 4 months, that we pledged. But we do have cases that we took longer than that. And the reason being, you'll be surprised to see, because I do go through the system, on and off, and you'll be surprised to see that the reviewers refuse and decline to review some of the papers, maybe of the title, maybe of the, it's multidiscipline, and they wouldn't dare to take it up. So I had to open up, for more reviewers to come in, and sometimes you wouldn't believe it, I have even more than 10 reviewers, After 2, I would add another 2, and I had to tell Professor Jonathan, the chief editor, I think this is a jinx paper, no one wants to review it, or I only have one to agree to do it. So, but we never give up. We really open it up for more authors for reviewers to look into it. Now, other than that, take a look at the Research and Publishing Ethics Guideline under Journal of Islamic Marketing, and we need also that you need to inform us on any third-party copyright permission, okay, in case you quote their papers and all that prior to articles submission. And other than that, yes, if you want to have open access submission information, you need to inform us, because there's a way to do it. So I would like you all to read through on how to get your papers open access. If you really visit our website, our link, you realize that the previous ones way back, I think even 3-4 years ago, there's still papers that are open access, but the quality is different from the ones that we are having right now. Yeah. Although, as I mentioned earlier, our papers are very broad, yeah, but then what happened is that we realized the reviewers are becoming more, I would say, smarter, or I would say more stringent in the way how they evaluate or review the papers, because one of it is that they are these so-called newer authors or younger authors, or very well-versed authors. They are looking into more rigorous papers rather than conceptual papers or qualitative papers. So bear in mind, you have to declare what type of paper you're submitting, whether it's descriptive or whether it is what do you call that, empirical papers and empirical studies and all that. Yeah, so please have that in mind when you do the write-up. Now, I would like to share, other than that, on the what else? Manuscript requirement. These are the common things that we look into. The format must really follow through what GIMA expects you to do. The article length is about 4,000 to 9,500 words, but of late we really try to look into papers that are shorter, because it's very concise and to the point. And we also allow 280 words for the figures or the tables, okay? And the title must be concise, and all the author details must be there, the email address, and author name, and the affiliation, okay, accordingly. And then you need the bibliographics as well as acknowledgement, especially on those who get the funding and all that. So other than that, the structured abstract is normal, like many other journals that you have done or have come across. Indicate the limitations, social implications that you would like to see. How does it benefit the society? Yeah, so make it very applied. Other than that, we look into keywords. Although over here it is indicated that you can have up to 12 appropriate keywords, but I would suggest that you limit to about 6, yeah, because a lot of journals right now minimize the number of keywords, and if possible, align it with the title that you have pledged earlier. So other than that, article classification would be, you need to declare is it a research article, or is it a case study, or is it an article review? Because if it is an article review, like a literature review, you know, table format, comparative study, that's worth visiting, because you are really helping the future researchers to what do you call that, to do their referencing easily, yeah, with your help of doing the article review in terms of like doing literature review. Or you would like to do a book review, or you can also may want to do like triangulation, executive interview, like something like case study, yeah. So research paper, other than that, reports can also be there if you wish, and then you can have viewpoints, technical paper, conceptual, and many others, yeah, even general review, but it has to be very sound. And try to have headings, subheadings in it, and notes also included if necessary. And notes, okay, the figures must be labeled, source adapted and adopted, and tables should be typed, okay, because if you do, how do I say it, if you do scanning and all that, sometimes it is not in high resolution, so the figure doesn't look good. So if you can do a neat, clear, original table, even though you may have adapted from somewhere, that would be a better job for publication. And don't forget the references. My pointers to most writers: please indicate the latest references if you can. If you can't get it from the journals, get it from the news or articles or magazines to show the relevancy of your papers, that you can quote and cite. So these are some of the pointers that I would like to share with you, that you can be easily, I would say, accepted by the some of the tips are accepted by the authors, because they find that your paper is really very current, very contemporary. Then you submit your manuscript, double check it, okay. You may be good in your content editing, but do have a third party to look at your language editing, okay, because sometimes we may have such good information and content, but your language is horrible, and you know, reading the first paragraph is enough to kill the reviewers to begin with, rather than the readers, yeah, the followers later on. Then you do your submission process, okay. And if your papers are being accepted, it can be open access. You can inform the editorial board, and then make sure you have we take care of the copyright. If you have any changes that you have published somewhere else, kindly inform us prior to doing a lot of work like reviewing and all that, because we have cases, you know, where people do double submission and then later on apologize to us. You know, I mean, it's really not correct or ethical to do that. And then after acceptance, you need to do proofreading and typesetting as required given the time. But somehow I need to share with you, I do not know why, I do see or come across people who got their manuscripts accepted, but they kind of withdraw. Maybe they are too busy and all that, but I felt it's a waste, you know. But like what Prof. Roszaini mentioned, they may even submit it somewhere else, but that's really a waste. Yeah? So I because it's a Scopus journal, it's got a very good citation, and I think you should take benefit out of this. Now you can even learn on how to share your paper, make it visible. So I would like you to visit this link and read through thoroughly. I'm not going to go through with you in detail, but I would like to share a little bit on the misconception about some of how these authors have been doing in the past and what we discovered. So, like for example, these are the frequently asked questions. Is there a submission fee for the journal? The answer is no. And we don't have any special issues journal publication here. It's first-hand normal issue. And we welcome just anybody, but okay, some of you will be asking, what's the success rate like? The success rate is 50-50. So for, like, you know, I mentioned to you, we have about few hundreds of papers for the next few years to come. If you get 600 papers, 300 got rejected. The other 3 may have major and minor, but the minor ones are the one who really responded to quick publication. The major ones are the one who fall out because I guess they give up with such details feedback. Yeah. So second, how can we become a reviewer of the journal? Please provide a copy of your CV, and we will and you will find their contact in the editorial team on the page of the link, and you can submit that and subjected to what do you call that, the approval of the committee. We do reject some reviewers due to some records, you know, because we do get feedback from other journals also on the ethics of doing things, you know, in publication. So but normally we do not do that. Next, who do I contact if I want to find out which volume and issue of the accepted paper will appear? You can take a look at the, I would say, let me see over here, contact the content editor, yeah, you can, in case you couldn't find it, yeah. And how do I contact if I have a query about my submission? Again, you can email it to the editorial team. And is my paper suitable for the journal? It depends. You have to revisit the aims and the scope. But as I've said, we are quite open recently, like talking about COVID and pandemic, or even SDG, Sustainable Development Group research studies. Okay, relating to green or Islamic matters. Yes, we accept that. So these are some of the. This is one of my last slides. We also award Literary Award winners for the outstanding papers and highly commended paper. You can print this and show it to your university. Hopefully you also get a second award from the university. And for those reviewers, we also acknowledge their, what do you call that, outstanding job in doing a very good review paper, because sometimes the authors themselves would inform us that they really appreciate what the reviewers have given feedback to them. And in terms of indexing and rankings, in 2020 our site score was 3.7, but in 2021 until of this month, yeah, the site score is about 3.6. So the other thing, what else I need to highlight to you, I think probably I've covered most of it. Yeah, I think I've covered most of it. So I guess with that, thank you very much, Madam Rosita. Back and over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Faridah, for your sharing and for putting on the Journal of Islamic Marketing website onto the audiences. So without further ado, I will now pass the session over to our last speaker, Dr. Rahmatina. So I shall share this session. And yes, so Dr. Rahma, over to you now to share about your journal. Thank you.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. We can.
Okay. Yeah. Just want to make sure. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Rosita, for the introduction. Also, thank you very much for Professor Rose, Prof. Hudaib, and also Prof. Faridah for the insight given. I'm very lucky I become the last presenter, so most of the important topics have been covered. So I will not explain into detail. And I'm also very happy to represent International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management on behalf of our chief editor, Professor Kabir Hassan, in this wonderful afternoon, Meet the Editor session organized by Emerald Publishing. Yes, this is the journal description that I have mentioned earlier. It was established in 2008, and basically the scope of the journal is research in Islamic finance and business management with strong evidence-based empirical studies and result-focused case studies. And the approach is to give an interdisciplinary and holistic view on Islamic finance and business management practices in order to inform these two intertwined communities. Now, I would like to introduce our editorial team. The editor-in-chief is Professor Kabir Hassan. He is Professor of Finance from University of New Orleans, USA, and also 2016 IDB Laureate in Islamic Banking and Finance. And in addition to editor-in-chief, we have editorial assistant, associate editor, editorial advisory board, and of course, editorial officers. There are 29 members of associate editors coming from 18 countries, and we have more in the editorial advisory board and reviewer as well, although the number is below those of Islamic Accounting and Business Research and also JIMA. And of course, we have excellent editorial officers, the Emerald Publishing team, which has managed the journal very good until now. In terms of indexing and ranking, similar to two previous journals, we are abstracted and indexed by many index, including Scopus and Web of Science Social Sciences Citation Index atau SSCI. We are also ranked by the Charter Association of Business Schools Academic Journal Guide, the Australian Business Deans Council or ABDC Journal Quality List, and also the Australian Research Council Journal List. And this is the site score in Scopus. It increased over time. It's now 3.0 in 2021. And the impact factor is also increasing over time. Alhamdulillah. Now, these are some statistics regarding performance of the journal, IMAFM. The number of downloads persistently high in the last 4 years, or 4.5 years to be precise, with a mean of more than 90,000 articles being downloaded annually. We also have the same pattern with Islamic Accounting and Business Research. As you can see in the numbers, usually more downloads are being done in February, March, and April, and then decline and then increase again in August, September, October. And we also feel the impact of COVID-19 because the total number of download also decreased from 2018 to 2019. Indonesia, Malaysia, and China are top 3 countries downloading IMFF article. And top special issue until now is the one in 2019 toward real economy and sustainable development. Now move on to the top authorship. Indonesia, Iran, and Malaysia are top 3 authorship by country. However, in terms of institutions, top 3 are all from Malaysia, namely IIUM, UM, and UKM. So actually, more authors are coming from Malaysia. And this is not surprising because Malaysia is the center, if you can say, for research and education in Islamic economics and finance. Now, the next question might be regarding the publication with IMFM, what the submission process involves. Basically, the process are almost similar with the other 2 journals. Here I summarize the submission process. So first, the author submits via Scholar1 manuscript system. And then after that, the editorial office will check the paper's composition and arrangement against the author guidelines. And after that, the editor-in-chief checks if the paper is appropriate, whether it's in line with the aim and scope of the journal, whether it is sufficiently original and interesting for the journal readership. And then it will assign to an associate editor to handle the process. So the peer review process is led by the associate editor, but editorial-in-chief may also handle this process. Now, after that, the handling editor will invite individuals that is believed would be appropriate reviewers. And potential reviewers would consider the invitation against their expertise, conflict of interest, and availability. They then could accept, decline, or even recommend other suitable reviewers if they cannot do the task for whatever reason. And in the 7th step, the review is conducted. The reviewer sets time to read the paper, and the review is then submitted to the journal with a specific recommendation, which could be reject, revise, or accept as is, which is very rare. And then the journal will evaluate the review. The handling editor considers all return reviews before making an overall decision, and then the decision is communicated. Now, you might wondering how long in total is the process. In IMFM, usually it takes between 8 to 15 weeks, but sometimes it can take longer, especially when the number of minimum reviewers cannot be met, and also when the reviewers did not, submit the review on time, so we have to find additional reviewers to do the task. And this is the peer review process that I have explained before. And I'm also very happy to announce that if you are interested in acting as a peer reviewer, please let us know your name, email address, and areas of interest. So this is similar with the other 2 journals, because we are hoping to get more reviewers who are expert in the field, of course. And also we have Emerald Literary Awards, which is given not only to the authors, but also to excellent reviewers for their contribution to the journal. Now, this is the possible recommendation. Prof. Rose has also explained earlier. The most common one is revision, revise decision, either with minor or major revision. Now, this is also similar, and I think most journals have this kind of standard, which why manuscripts are rejected. Basically, we classified into 2 reasons, the general reasons and the scientific reasons. And studies also suggested that probability of manuscript rejection is actually quite high, between 40 to 90%. So if your manuscript is being rejected, don't be despair. It happens to everybody. It happened to me. It also happens to Prof. Rose. And I think most of the authors, academic authors, experienced this before. And in my experience, this is a good lesson learned actually, because we can get feedback from the reviewers, and we can try to improve our papers. Based on their feedback and suggestion. So rejection is actually a good thing. Now, when you have your manuscript returned with a revision, either major or minor revision, and in addition to what have been mentioned by Prof. Rose, Prof. Hudaib, and also Prof. Faridah, I just want to add that it will be good to respond directly and calmly to reviewer comments. Carefully address all the feedback given, revise and resubmit, and don't give up after getting through all the major hurdles. So keep calm and do the R&R, revise and resubmit. Now, I'd like to quote this one because I think it's a good illustration. What leads to acceptance? So basically, there are several things that might lead you to acceptance, including attention to details, whether it is the font size of the table, and then the clarity of the figures, and so on. And of course, the content, that's the main important thing. And then check and double check your work. Consider reviewers' comments. English, of course. because this is the language of communication used in all three journals. English must be as good as possible, and if necessary, I would strongly suggest you to use the proofread service to improve the English. And then presentation is important, of course. Take your time with revision, and don't forget to acknowledge those who have helped you. And importantly, new, original, and previously unpublished contributions are most welcome, and ethical rules must be obeyed. So these are several things that lead to acceptance. Now, when we talk about MFM, the acceptance rate is about 7%. And this emphasizes that quality of submission is also increasing. And then around 90% of papers get rejected. And this might have contributed to the fact that at the moment it is also listed in Social Science Citation Index, or SSCI. Now, this is the call for paper that I have mentioned before, so I will skip it. Now, about misconception. Yeah, when we talk about publication in reputable international journal, there are often some misconceptions. This happens including in Indonesia. And Prof. Faridah have explained some of the misconception before. The first one is about the submission fee or article processing fees. So many authors, especially in Indonesia, believe that submission or acceptance in international journal would have to be followed, or they have to pay for substantial amount to be published in a reputable journal. But this is not the case with MFM and also other Emerald Journal, I believe. There is no submission fee or article processing fees. So if somebody asks you some fees for submission, then you need to be very careful about it. Now, however, authors can choose to publish open access, for which there is a charge, but not required to do so. But this is provided by the publisher because an open access would allow the paper to open to all and reaches a wider audience globally. That's the first misconception. Now, the second one is perhaps related to the title of the journal, that is the International Journal for Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management. So there are some perceptions that the journal is only for Middle Eastern authors. Now, I would like to highlight once again, but this is not the case. This journal is not only for Middle Eastern authors, although there is inclination towards it. And finally, the International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management is not only for Islamic finance research. Indeed, it encourages scholarship in all aspects of Islamic economy and Middle Eastern economies. Now, the topics and focus for the future. Now we also accept papers related to climate finance, value-based investing, Islamic finance in other parts of the world beside Asian and Middle Eastern countries. And we also welcome titles, topics related to impact investing, convergence of faith-based investing, ESG, financial inclusion, and economic development in a holistic sense. And in the future, we want to reach more authors and more readers, and beyond Malaysia, Indonesia, and China. We also want a balance between political economy and empirical economics papers, and balance between theory and empirical papers. And because few conceptual works have been published in MFM, especially in the last few years, we also would like to see more conceptual work in Islamic finance. And we finally hope that this title would be a one-stop journal for all those exposed to develop finance from holistic purposes, with primary focus on Islamic value tradition. Yeah, I would like to end my presentation by quoting a nice quotation, at least to me. And this is from Khalifa Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the first of the Khulafa al-Rashidin. He mentioned that knowledge is the life of the mind. So knowledge has to be written, knowledge has to be shared. And also from Heinlein, which is a famous author in the US, he said that everything is theoretically impossible, including writing, until it is done. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon to all of us. Thank you. I return it to G.
Yep, no problem. I'll take over from Jay. Thank you for all the speakers. It's a very comprehensive and very insightful information shared by all the editorial boards, right? We've got a lot of questions actually, but I'm conscious of the time. We ran over about 4 minutes already, but just allow me an extra few minutes just to address some of the questions. I'm just going to go through some of these specific questions. There's one question for Prof. Faridah that in terms of the Journal of Islamic Marketing, right? There is a question in regards asking about the acceptance of interdisciplinary or cross-field research. Does the Journal of Islamic Marketing accept interdisciplinary or cross-field research, for example, from the areas of sociology or psychology? Let's say, for example, the research is on a study of social class and consumption pattern among Muslim community. Any comment, Prof. Faridah? I think you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Thanks.
Yeah, seriously speaking, there has been, I would say, multidiscipline papers from both social science and science papers. So I do not see any problem with that, because we do have reviewers from all sorts of background who are really interested to know about the how it can be applicable to the Islamic values. So some are from the agriculture practices, wanting to know how halal can play a role over there in terms of medical, pharmaceutical, and all that. Definitely, yes. So when he mentioned about pathology, I don't think it's not a problem at all. So please, we welcome.
Okay, thank you. I think that's the common trend, and I think the focus of general journals around the world are on multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary as well. Yes,
yeah,
sorry.
maybe I want to add just one more point. Remember when I mentioned about the those who are interested to be reviewers? Probably you can also recommend distinguished people who like to, go into that line, and we welcome, because when they register themselves as the reviewer board, they will also highlight the interest in the topics that they would like to review. So it somehow, like for example, when I search and I would just key in the discipline, all those grouping of reviewers will appear. So I can just send anywhere I possibly think that they can help. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Prof. There's a question specifically for Prof. Rose as well, because she mentioned about crowd review, right? There is a question here to ask about, like, does the crowd review speed up the review process compared to a peer review?
Yeah, in a way, the crowd review process will take a shorter period, because you are sending out the paper to about 50 in the list that we have. So obviously, if we can get two or three reviewers coming back sooner, so we can make a decision quicker. So the crowd review is good in terms of if you want a quick turnaround decision.
Right, yeah, I think that's applicable to all the
But
journals
having
as
said
well.
that, but having said that, they are also blind, so they don't know who are the authors. Yeah, so it is still a blind, but then it is a crowd. That means more people who are, will be looking at the paper instead of just two. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. A question that I want to address to Dr. Rahma. It's this question: to what extent does the editor preference of a new research direction or like a hot topic, right, affect the decision to publish a manuscript? Any views from Dr. Rahma?
Yes, I think of course we would like to have papers who are discussing about more recent topic because the novelty is high. But the technical requirement, you know, the quality of the papers, they are not compromised. So yeah, I think that's what I can say.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, and this is a question generally for all the editors, because we have been mentioning a lot about the reviewer, right? How people are interested, they can reach out to become a reviewer. There seems to be quite a lot of interest as well to join the editorial board of your journal. So is there any route that you can recommend these people who are interested?
Probably Prof. Rose and Rama can go first, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I should answer.
As a Rose, I mean, as Prof. Faridah mentioned, you know, you have to send in your CV, and then also it would be good to know what are your areas and so on, and then we will make kind of a judgment about, you know, the suitability of the person, because sometimes, you know, sometimes we even accepted some PhD students as well, because sometimes the PhD students actually give much better reviews than some of the researchers, because they are doing in the area, you know. So when they read much more, so they can give a better review. So we also welcome if they are interested to be a peer reviewer. Actually, it helps PhD students because, you know, when they review the papers, they also learn, you know, the tactics of writing, the style of writing. It helps them as well. So being a reviewer is actually good, you know, not only for the CV purposes, but also for your knowledge. Yeah. That's for me.
Yeah. Anything to add, Dr. Rahma?
No, I think it's the authority of editor-in-chief. So I think Prof. Rose has explained it.
Okay, no problem.
As for me, I think I think better volunteer to be the reviewer first, and once they understand the system and how it works, then normally the chief editor will upgrade them, you know, based on their feedback, based on even based on the author's feedback. You know, they're very pleased with the comments, and those things are very transparent in our group, so we know who are eligible to be promoted to the editorial board. Normally those with experiences. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Very sensible advice there. I think it is always good to just get involved with the journal first, right? And progress from there, I would say, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm conscious about the time, okay? Because we are now all running about 15 minutes already. So, okay, we won't be able to take much more questions. I'll definitely be sending out the list of compiled questions to all the speakers, and we'll get back to the audience respectively after the webinar as well. Okay, and with that, I think we have come to an end of today's session. Okay, a really big thank you to all our speakers and the participation of everybody. Okay, do link up with any one of us. I think you would have our contacts through the presentations and also from the email that Madam Rosita have sent. Okay, then until we meet again, a big thank you and goodbye. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. But